And the record deal doesn't make or break your career. It's part of the journey, and if you don't enjoy the journey there, you're going to be disappointed, because those aren't the end all. Record deal isn't the end all.
Welcome to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast with Bree Noble. Bree is a musician, entrepreneur, speaker, and founder of Women of Substance Music Radio and Podcast. Bree's interviews with successful female musicians and industry pros are both inspirational and informational. She also answers your questions about the music business. Bree is on a mission to help you create great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business, and to truly become a female entrepreneur musician.
Hey, this is Bree Noble, and thanks for listening to the Female Entrepreneur Musician Podcast, where we help you learn to make great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business. And I am super excited today because not only do we have a great interview with Amy Wolter from Tom Jackson Productions and Onstage Success. She's going to talk to you about some great tips on how to improve your live performances. But I'm also going to give away the free month of the Female Musician Academy to one of our lucky people that left us a review on iTunes. So here I'm going to read this review, and luckily the review that I picked, totally random by the way, was an amazing review. So I want to thank her so much for this review because it just helps me to know that people are listening, they're implementing what we're talking about on here, they're taking notes, they're really, really taking to heart what these guests are saying. And I try very hard to find some phenomenal people for you to hear on the show. So I'm glad that it is really getting to the people that need to hear it. So here's her review. This is from Kim Songs. Obviously, that is her iTunes name. So Kim, please contact me at Bree@FEmusician.com or find me on Facebook at facebook.com/BreeNobleMusic. And I will be sure and get you your free month of the Female Musician Academy. So here's what Kim says. Bree is fantastic. From her selection of people to interview, to the questions that she asked, to how she brings it home for us as independent artists, makes this podcast my number one favorite. Listening and taking notes is the way that I am spending my every ounce of my free time. I have started to implement some of what I have learned, and already I am seeing results. Thank you, Bree, and your fabulous team. Thank you, amazing people Bree is interviewing. You are all making the world a brighter place for gals like me. Oh my gosh, I am so honored by that review. Thank you so much, Kim, and you sound like the perfect person to be in the Female Musician Academy, and you're going to learn so much from all of our training in there. So please contact me at Bree@FEmusician.com. And if you want to know more about the Academy, you can go to FemaleMusicianAcademy.com, check out some of the free videos that we have there and all the courses that we have involved in the Academy, as well as the community that we have built of female musicians that are trying to make a living with music. And now for my interview with Amy Wolter. She's got such an amazing bio. I can't possibly cover everything. And we talk about a lot on the show. So I'm not going to go super deep into it because I don't want to give anything away. But Amy Wolter is a trained live music producer for Tom Jackson's Onstage Success with a multi-layered musical background. Amy offers her years of personal experience on stage to singers and bands who won't just settle for good enough. She was the female lead singer in the Christian rock band Fighter and has sung in front of thousands over the years. The band was signed to a major label, Word Records. As a performance coach, some of her clients include the band Perry, Lecrae, Gloriana, the Stellas, Chad Brownlee, Francesca Battistelli, Sidewalk Prophets, and more. Now for my interview with Amy. So that's a little bit about Amy Wolter. So Amy, is there anything that's not in your bio that you want to share with us that's maybe a little more personal?
Well, do you want something unusual personal or just run of the...
Oh, unusual is always cool.
Well, I'm a big Seinfeld fan. I know it's been off the air for years, but I continually watch reruns and always have a Seinfeld application for anybody's any situation. Oh, that reminds me of Seinfeld episode. So it's a little manic. My husband's like, how can you continually keep watching? He loves the show, but he doesn't understand why I can keep watching the same episodes over and over. So
that's kind of like my husband and I. We have a quote from The Simpsons for almost everything that, like every situation in life, I think.
I know. And you just pray that someone around you gets it, It's like, no,
yeah,
doesn't look at you strange.
What world are you talking about?
Yeah.
So how did you get started in music?
Well, from a very young age in the church I went to, that we only sang a cappella. So you sang the hymn, you picked apart a harmony part when we sang hymns, and you just it was ingrained in you pretty much. My family sang a lot, Daddy sang bass, Mama sang soprano, and my brother sang tenor, and I was an alto. So they would make us chorales and make us sing together. And so it was kind of an osmosis type of thing, I think. Yeah. So it was no choice. I mean, to this day, it's like it's hard for me to just sing the melody somewhere. If I hear a melody going on, I'll just jump in on a harmony part or start whistling or something like that.
Yeah, I'm like that too, for sure. I love harmony parts.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you kind of translate that into wanting to do music as a career?
Well, I guess I played piano, took piano lessons, and then as soon as I quit lessons, I really started to want to play. I went out and bought pop books and learned, those kind of songs and loved it. And
isn't that funny that when you're taking lessons, you don't want to do it?
Right.
That's so true for me too. I was like, I quit in 6th grade because I just thought I had too much homework. And then like a few years later, I was like, I think I want to write songs. And I just started playing, but you have that background anyway that you can actually do it.
Right. And I had a ukulele, and I wrote my first song on the ukulele, I think probably when I was 9 or 10, something crazy like that. So yeah, I started to write songs after high school. I had a really good writing rhetoric teacher in high school, and it was one of those things that comes back years later, and you go, "Wow, that was probably the most valuable teacher / class I ever had, and something that you actually used in life rather than geometry or whatever."
Yeah, my husband's an English professor, and I always think, people don't understand how important English is going to be to you later. If you want to be a songwriter, if you want to be, a lot of professional things, you need to be a good writer.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That applies to so much. I mean, especially now with everybody blogging and
oh yeah,
it drives you nuts when you see people not using the right punctuation and stuff. And I mean, especially just with texting, everybody abbreviates and stuff. So writing skills are valuable when it actually comes down to real writing and not just, sound bites and texts and tweets and stuff.
Definitely. So how did your band Fighter get started, and what was the journey like between, being totally unknown and then eventually, making a bunch of albums and playing to 10,000 people?
Well, I had been in bands since high school. There was a previous band my husband and I were both in. He plays bass. And after that ended, we were just kind of, I don't know, we took a few years off and just didn't really think about it. And then we met up with another singer who also was a drummer and started talking. And we were passionate about, a message, which is, we were Christians, and just we were passionate about telling people what about that part of our lives, about our faith. And we really wanted to stay in music and start another band. So the three of us sat down and started talking about it and got excited about it and looked for a guitar player and a keyboard player and got that going. We did it, because we were passionate about our message and our music, and we booked ourselves. Most of our career, we had no manager. It was just we just loved it. Is that, maybe that's the difference of why some people struggle, because if they don't love it enough, you're not going to endure the hard times with it. But we all had jobs, and so, at least part-time jobs. So it made it to where we didn't have to make a living on our music. So we were able to be creative and write and do our thing. And we would enter band competitions. And that probably was the one thing that propelled us the most and got us the most exposure, and eventually led to a record deal. So yeah, it was all about, and the record deal doesn't make or break your career. It's part of the journey, and if you don't enjoy the journey there, you're going to be disappointed, because those aren't the end all. Record deal isn't the end all.
Well, and especially in 2015, what year was this when you got your record deal?
Yeah, that was, it was probably 90 or 91. Our first record came out in 91. So yeah, it was a lot different climate then, for sure.
But I'm guessing that having a label back then did help you get bigger events. Like you said, when you ended your last performance together, you played for 10,000 people.
No, it was 110,000 people.
Oh, 100. Oh my gosh, I wrote it down wrong. 110,000 people. Wow.
That was it was a festival in Brazil, and they had brought over a couple, us and another American band called Bride, and it was in a huge soccer stadium, and they actually had to turn people away. They couldn't get everybody in the stadium. So yeah, that was a good way to end the career right there, or end the band, because we played a few gigs after that, but that was pretty much the climax of Fighter.
Wow. So tell us about your solo career. What was it like working with Prince's band on your album?
That was fun. Morris Hayes was with New Power Generation, and that version of Prince's band, and he did a lot of programming and keyboard work on a lot of those songs, and then brought in the bass player and the drummer to do some of the tracks. Yeah, that was pretty cool, because I got to go to Paisley Park. Morris said when Prince calls any time of day or night, well, this is back then, he's probably not quite so, how should I say, dictatorial maybe now. I don't know. It was pretty much he owned you. So Morris, like, he got a call, he had to go fully dressed, stage gear, go to Paisley Park. We're having a rehearsal. So my producer and I, he said, I can get you in, but you've got to just kind of be out of sight. So he got shuffled in there, and we were kind of standing back in the shadows a bit, kind of to the side of the stage. And mind you, this is just rehearsal. And they started playing this first song, and he looks over to right and made eye contact with us, and we're like, oh crap, we're dead. And sure enough, about a couple minutes later, somebody came and ushered us into the green room. So and then after that, it was funny, because like the guitar tech comes around and back and goes, anybody got a nail file? I said, I do. And he went out and tried to fix this fret for Prince and couldn't do it. So then rehearsal was over. He canceled it.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a little bizarre to be in that world, but I did walk away with a pick from Prince's console with his logo on it. And Morris gave me this tamaraca percussion piece that has his symbol, his iconic symbol in it. So those are my little keepsakes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What a great experience to have. So between your band Fighter and your solo career, we have a lot of musicians on this show that are either just starting out or just, really dealing with frustration in their career. Was there a time that you were super frustrated and you felt like maybe you wanted to quit music? And how did you get through that? Kind of give us a little story that, you might maybe help our listeners, feel a little kinship and help them know that, it's not going to be as frustrating like that forever.
You just, the main message I would say is just, you've got to really believe in what you're doing and you've got to love it. There were some hard times, but overall, we were all in it together. We all took the hit together. We all, it wasn't like we had to pay musicians that were just kind of just players. We were all invested in it equally. So, and we liked each other. We liked playing together. We liked creating together. So if you don't have that too, because we've seen bands that we've toured with, some that didn't even like each other. So it's like, well, what's the point of that? But we knew we were good. We knew we were a good band and we enjoyed playing together. So I do remember one night when I was backstage, Sean, our other lead singer, he and I shared lead vocals in the band. And he and I were, or he was out on stage talking to the audience. And I was sitting backstage, on this dirty step in the dark. And this feeling just came over me. It's like, I knew this is exactly where I'm supposed to be at this point in my life. And it was the most comforting affirmation that just came over me. It was almost overwhelming. And I just thought I was totally at peace. And that no matter what, I just know I'm in the right place at the right time, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that was kind of my aha God moment there backstage.
That's really cool. I mean, it is so great. Like, even if you're going through the hard times and the gigs that are annoying and, and just the travel that wears on you, to feel that you are in the right place at the right time in your life can just gloss over all that.
Yeah, it's exactly right. And that's why occasionally now run across an artist. I literally had a girl say to me when we were doing these consultations at a workshop, and I just sat down and said, so, why, what do you want to do with this, with your music, and what's that look like for you? And she just kind of like shrugged and she just goes, well, I just want to be famous. And my heart just broke. I thought, oh girl, don't even, just quit now, because if that's your goal, you're not going to be able to sustain through rough times. I mean, if you want to be famous, just go be on a reality show. If you want to do music, just do it because you love it.
Oh, absolutely. That's so true. So did you have a mentor along the way that kind of helped guide you and give you some perspective?
I can't really say that I did, but I did have a lot of support from just the people around me, family and friends, who would, just say, wow, your stuff is really good, and I like your voice, and different things like that, and just overall general affirmation. Actually, I did have, a couple of pastors that I had were very encouraging, and just, I had a pretty good people around me overall. So,
well, I think it's different when you're in a band too, because if you do like each other, then you're supporting each other. It's different from being a solo artist.
Exactly. And
you don't feel like you're just all alone,
Right. And I know, I just talked to a girl the other day. She just feels, she's intimidated. She moved to Nashville a year ago and was all fired up and had things rolling for her. And then in typical Nashville fashion, all that excitement and at first kind of dies down, and then you're left with, the reality kind of hits and it gets tough. And then you got to decide, then you see see all this talent around you, and it can kill you. It can snuff it out because you get intimidated by, well, everybody's better than me. But you have to just keep believing in yourself and what you're doing, and just tough it out and keep going.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. When you're the new kid in town, then people are interested. And then it's like, once you've been there a year and you've kind of already played all the places that you got to play in Nashville,
Yeah,
then it's like, okay, now what do I do?
exactly. Yeah.
That's a good point. Well, I want to talk about your involvement in live performance coaching. And I first wanted to say a little bit about my experience with Tom Jackson Productions, in that when I was putting together, when I finally figured out that I needed to create a program and really think about my live performances as not just being a person up there with a keyboard and a mic, actually creating something that was more of a program or a show, I got the Tom Jackson CD series and I listened through that whole thing, and I totally transformed what I did from that. And I know there's so much value in that. And we were just having a conversation on our Facebook for the Female Musician Academy. And I didn't even bring up Tom Jackson. Someone else did, and said that they'd been to one of his boot camps and gotten some live coaching. And I just talked to another friend who said he got some coaching for his artist from you as well as from Tom. And just the value of that one-on-one, just really looking at their specific program and what they have to offer and how they can ramp that up a little bit. And so how did you get involved in live performance coaching, and how did you get involved with Tom Jackson Productions?
Well, Tom and I had a mutual friend. It was the guy who eventually did start managing our band kind of toward the last couple years. And he had told Tom was looking to bring somebody else on to pull up the slack. He was just so busy and just couldn't take every client. So our friend Dave told Tom about me and said she was always a good performer on stage. I think she'd be good at this. And so I had some meetings with Tom, and eventually he watched me critique a live video, and we were tracking everything that he had taught or was teaching. Really resonated with me, and I thought, yeah, that everything makes perfect sense from my experience. So yeah, that's how we got started 10 years ago, and it's just been fantastic. I'm just so passionate about this.
Well, so what kind of skills do you teach them? I mean, obviously it's a little more one-on-one when you're teaching someone about their particular show and their playlist, but what in general kind of skills do people not have when they come to you and not even realize they need to have that you can teach them?
Right. So many artists don't realize that they need to think more about what the audience comes to shows for. They don't come just to hear songs. They come to be captured and engaged. They come to experience moments, and they come in some cases to be changed. Now, they're not going to consciously be thinking these things, but that in reality is why they come. And so we teach artists, first of all, how to create moments in their show, because moments are what's going to connect with people, not just songs. So by moments, I mean, are there along with a musical moment, is there a different moment? Is there a touching moment? Is there a fun moment? And help an artist create these moments. So we take their songs, we pull out what's in this song that can really create a moment. Maybe we'll hear this really cool solo that's maybe short on the record, but let's expand it. And it builds and builds to a place where if you pitted the guitar player and the fiddle player, if it's a country band, create a guitar fiddle trade-off, and then visually make that exciting to where we've now created this cool musical thing, and an audience connects with that. They don't just connect to, okay, let's play it like the record and it's only 8 bars and okay, that was good, but it didn't make the hair on my arms raise.
Well, and they could always just listen to the record if they wanted that, right?
Exactly.
That's the way I think about it.
Exactly. And that's what we say. It's like and two, a record producer is going to produce your songs for radio. We are like the producer producing your songs for a live audience. And there's a huge difference there, because radio rules are short intro, get right to the chorus, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, done. And because they're producing it, you're driving down the road, you're listening to the song. That's their mindset, and there's certain rules for that. Well, the rules are different for live because you don't have those restrictions. So we can play. So we first of all play with the arrangement a bit and see what's the best arrangement for live. And sometimes we'll extend a song and create a cool drum break or get the audience to sing along, and that creates kind of a fun moment where they're involved. We look at those moments. Then after that, we say, okay, so what should the song look like? All your songs don't sound the same. But a lot of times they look the same because you're standing in the same place for the whole show. So we fit the visuals to what the audio is. In other words, if you had a really jamming song, that would dictate, okay, you need to, lots of movement, interact with each other on stage, really, go nuts. Well, on the ballad, you're not going to do that. Maybe on the ballad, we'll put you on stools and maybe even break the song down to an acoustic version that's maybe even different from the record. And, so visually it changes with each song a little bit. Teaching the artist, maybe on this song you hold the mic and get rid of the stand. Maybe on this song you are behind the mic stand, but use the mic stand as a tool. Even with solo artists that are just singer-songwriters, we help them create dynamics by picking to strumming, to muted strumming. I mean, changing the dynamics of the song with how the guitar is played. And even talking to the audience, telling a story, learning how to tell a story, not just the old nightclub banter. Hey, how's everybody doing? We're going to slow it down now. All the cliche crap that you just hear over and over. Or even the name of this next song is, well, that doesn't tell me anything. Tell me where you were when you wrote it. Tell me what you were feeling. Where did the story come from? That's the stuff that turns the audience on and makes them the hair on their arms raise and makes them connect to you as a person. Because people go on they connect with your story, your emotions, your not just songs. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that is what I incorporated into my program.
Great.
Because mine was testimony based. And so I just ended up it ended up being almost as equal amount of story as it was song. Mm-hmm. And it worked so well for me, but it was like I hadn't considered that. I just thought, well, I'm a singer, songwriter. I get up there, I sing my songs.
Right.
But I never considered like, well, why would they care to listen to these songs? Like, they're important to me, but why would they care?
Right. And artists are starting to, the reason why we're getting busier and busier is artists are starting to realize, okay, about 97% or maybe closer to 100%, maybe 99% of your income is going to come from your live shows. So you've got to spend the time and money to focus on that. I mean, people will spend thousands of dollars on their records or on a photo shoot or whatever, but then it comes to their show. Oh, we're going to go rehearse for 2 days before we go out on tour.
Well, not only that, but if you put all this money into your record, how do you think you're going to sell it with your live shows?
Right. Because I mean, even if you get some labels interested, they hear your songs. Okay, the very next thing they ask, when can I see them? They want to know you're interesting to watch live, that you can present those songs to a live audience. So that's why we get called to to do a lot of showcases, so showcase prep, as well as, the entire show.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because being that our show is female entrepreneur musician, I wanted to know how that translates into dollars. And I think you covered that a bit, as far as, number one, it could help you get a record deal. Number two, it'll help you sell your CDs. And it'll help you get more shows, right? Is there anything else?
Yeah, I mean, when the more moments you create, the more the audience is moved, and they're going to run back to the merch table and they'll go, where's that song that made me feel that way? Because I want to feel that way again, basically, is what they're saying. So they're going to buy that CD, or they're going to buy that t-shirt with the phrase that they sang along to on one of your songs, or they're going to buy that hat that has the name of the song that just really moved them. That's why merch sales will go up. We had an artist, a well-known artist, very, very well-known artist, that started out, her merch sales were 75 cents a head. Tom worked with her in the band for a week before she opened for Brad Paisley back in many years ago, probably maybe 6 or 8 years ago. During that tour, her merch sales went to $4.50 a head.
Oh my goodness.
Because she learned how to connect to the audience, to create moments and not just sing songs. She and the whole band grasped onto that. And it's massive. I'm telling you, I worked with a band in Philly for 2 days, and they went out and did these festivals, and they paid for my fee, which isn't cheap. They paid for it in 2 gigs because their merch sales were so astronomical.
I was just doing the math on the other girl. That's 6 times the number of sales.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just awesome.
Yep. Yeah. And then this band that I was just talking about, also, they texted me because at the end of their rehearsals, they were like, oh man, we're so different now. They were a violin rock band. They had 2 violins and guitars, and it was crazy. And I totally rocked her world. She was kind of shy to begin with, and I had them doing trade-offs. I took the guitar off of the lead singer because he had this kind of Freddie Mercury vibe to him, but it wasn't coming across because he always had that acoustic guitar on. They didn't need it for most of the stuff, so they took a lot of risks, and they were, at the end, they were just sitting there saying, we're so different. What are our friends and our fans going to think? Well, I said, you got to decide right now if you're going to play it safe, or if you're going to go for it, because you have thousands more people that haven't seen you yet. Are you going to let the small amount of fans that you have now hold you back, or are you going to go for it? And they went for it, and I got a text that said, festival's going great. Fans and promoters telling us we're the best live band they've ever seen.
Wow.
And that's
awesome.
It was a great moment. I was grocery shopping, and I was jumping up and down in the audience. I was like, yes, they got it. And we've never seen it not work if they apply this stuff. Even in the smallest of ways. I mean, we work with artists just starting out. We've worked with signed artists. It works. And especially with indie artists that don't have resources for lights or big sets or anything, you can create a compelling show if you grab onto these principles. And I know you've seen that yourself by working some of this stuff. So yeah, I'm so passionate about it. I can't believe I get to do this for a living.
Yeah, you're pretty lucky.
I am.
So, and working with all these amazing artists, that's got to be fun.
Yeah, it's great. It is fun. I mean, and sometimes the indies are more fun to work with because they're just so new. Sometimes with an older established artist, you've got to get rid of some bad habits that they formed. And that's not easy when somebody's been doing something one way for a long time. And So changing that is a little tougher.
So have you seen any specific challenges to women in relation to their music career and creating their live show? And how do you handle those?
You know what? I don't really I don't work with women any differently. I mean, I do work with an artist individually. In other words, what's your vibe? What do you want to say? What's your personality? And yes, I take that all into consideration. But in terms of women and men in general, I guess I don't do things really. I don't think I do things that much differently. I mean, all the same principles apply, but I apply them with their personality and their goals in mind, what their vision is for where their band where they want to go with their career.
Have you ever experienced maybe a manager or a label wanting a woman to be like more provocative or more, sexy or whatever, and maybe they weren't sure if that's what they wanted to do, and trying to work that out?
Maybe a little bit, but it seems like maybe the climate is changing on that, because I haven't had anyone just say, "Oh, we're marketing her to be, sex goddess or anything like that." And if they did, I would probably just say, "Oh, well, maybe you need somebody else," because but yeah, so to me, it's at the core of what I do. It's also about developing confidence and authority on stage. And maybe that could be the difference in men and women, possibly, that some of the girls I work with don't have that confidence yet to step out there, or maybe it's their first time working with a band, and they're kind of unsure about how to take control really as an artist, and really step up and own the stage, because that's a huge part of it. If you don't have confidence and authority on stage, you're not going to win the respect of the audience. And I'm not talking about arrogance. When I talk about authority, I'm talking about just walking in the role that you have. You're given that stage, so you need to take it and own it and walk in authority up there, and be confident, because they came to see you. You were hired, so take it and run with it.
Definitely. You always have to remember that as a performer. And so does anything change when you're working with people of different ages? Like, do you find that the young people are less confident than the older people, or the young people are like just super go-getters and the older people are just a little less? Like, if they're saying someone who's in their 40s is just starting out as a performer, do they seem a little more seasoned, or are they just unsure that people are going to want to see them because they're so much older?
Yeah, I mean, if they're definitely with the younger ones, if they're like in their teens and maybe still struggling with, peer pressure and that kind of stuff, they haven't gotten the confidence, say, of a 40-year-old woman who's been out there and is way more confident. So there is a difference there, and sometimes. But I mean, I have seen young artists that are surprisingly confident and not scared to be on stage, and vice versa, and older women who are, still like, "Oh, I'm not sure why people come to see me."
Well, I think there's this idea in the music industry, because I know some artists, we were just talking recently about, someone told them they were 29 and someone told them, "Oh, why don't you just give up? Like, it's already passed for you." And they were 29.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
I know.
That's when you finally have something to say at that age, as opposed.
That's what I think.
It's like, okay, there's some meat now to the lyrics, and yeah, I think we should cage up artists until they're 30 and let them speak. They've experienced some live. Now you can sing because you got something to sing about.
That's funny.
Just kidding. I just turned off all the tweens and 20-somethings.
No, I mean, I think younger people definitely have plenty of talent.
Yes.
The question is, have they written songs? And usually, hopefully, they've written as co-writers, and that will help bring some maturity to their songs.
Yes, well, we do encourage that as well if they don't have a lot of experience writing. And there's nothing wrong with singing and performing other people's songs if you don't have your own. And but I do encourage everyone to at least try writing, give it a shot, because a lot of people will surprise themselves that, yeah, I do have something to say, even if it's, even if I'm, 16 and it's about, being bullied at school. I mean, that's valuable. I mean, that's, when Taylor Swift started writing, her, she was the outcast in high school, and man, other girls relate to that. Look at her audience. That's massive, because there's always an audience for whatever you're writing about, I believe. You just have to find, connect with the audience that connects with you and with your message.
Right. So do you have a book that you could recommend, either for songwriting, for music career, or even for like self-improvement, that you think could be really beneficial to artists?
Yeah, well, aside from Tom Jackson's live music method, which of course is just the Bible now and what we teach, I just read Amanda Palmer's book, The Art of Asking.
I was talking to somebody about that recently, and I haven't read it yet.
Wow. There's some language in it, so if you're squeamish about that, but she really, as she was besides being a musician, before she had her band, she was a street performer. She dressed up as a bride, and she learned a lot about people and about audiences and the connection that people need. It's a really good book. And there's another book called The Show I'll Never Forget. It's 50 writers reliving their most memorable concert going experiences.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's by Sean Manning. So, and now granted, some of the things people are recalling were like about their friends or the drug trip that went along with it, but there's a lot of great memories that coincide with what we say. What people remember from shows is not how perfectly the artist sang or played, but it was how they felt and how, like, here's a quote, afterwards, none of us wanted to go home. We wanted to hold on to the experience of that live music as long as possible. And I think that was after a Led Zeppelin show. Yeah, and they didn't even remember, in some cases, the songs, but they just remembered the feelings, and so it's really good. I was so excited to see there was a book like that reinforces what we're teaching about live performance.
That's great. Well, thank you for those. Those are going to be some great resources for our listeners to check out. We are almost out of time. I want to find out from you where the easiest way is for people to connect with you, to connect with Onstage Success and Tom Jackson Productions.
Yes, our website is onstagesuccess.com. My email, if you want to email me, it's amy@tomjacksonproductions.com. Facebook is Amy Wolter, WOLTER. And Twitter, I'm Amy J. Wolter, I believe.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So yeah, I would love to hear from you. And we have a backstage pass part of our website that's subscription, but the benefits that are back there, you can see some amazing before and after videos. You can ask questions, specific questions to your show, and you'll get answers. We'll write you personal answers. If it's about something else in the industry, we'll get somebody with that expertise to answer the question for you. So that's a really, really good resource. Yeah, and a lot of this is surprisingly, I mean, we just realize more and more how no one else is teaching this stuff and how valuable it is and how hungry artists are for it.
And when's your next live event? Because I know there's one coming up.
Yes, it's the last Friday and Saturday in September, I believe.
Okay.
What is that?
The 25th, 26th?
Yes. Sounds right. And
because that I know that date because we're doing this Southern California Girl Fest is that same weekend, and we have a showcase artist there. But that seems to be a very popular weekend. But yeah, I've had a few artists already signing up for the boot camp event.
Awesome. Great.
And I want to let the listeners know I'm going to put in the show notes. I've got a coupon that you guys can get $50 off on the event. So check that out at FEM19.com for this episode, and you'll get that coupon code. Or you can just email me at Bree@FEM19.com and I'll send it to you.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bree.
You're welcome. Thank you for spending time with us, giving us such great advice on live performances and your experiences as a musician. And I can't wait for our listeners to learn everything they can from you.
Great. Fantastic.
Now go out and make great music, connect with your fans, and grow your business. Female Entrepreneur Musician has been brought to you by FEMusician.com and FemaleMusicianAcademy.com. With editing by Jen Eads of 317 Sound Design and music by Stella Ronson.